Carlos Nazareno, Net PH, and Ed Lingao, Anchor TV5. Let's please give them all a big round of applause. And welcome our moderator, Vince Lasatin, Executive Director, Transparency and Accountability Network, and convener of Media Nation.
Thanks, Bart. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone had a, oh, there's gang. Hope everyone had a good lunch. This afternoon's first panel, I've been told, will be shortened to 45 minutes. Ira? 45 minutes. Okay, so we'll have to make our talk more precise and concise. This morning, before we broke for lunch, we had a panel on fighting back and talking about principles about fighting back. And what we want to do in this particular panel is to talk about fighting back in a more practical, gang, please join us, from a more practical point of view. And we are lucky to have this afternoon panelists who, for lack of a better term, are in the trenches, doing battle not only to fight fake news, but to put forth the truth in their own spheres of influence. And so I'll start with my left. We'll start just to introduce the panelists. We have Carlos Nazareno, popularly known as Naz. And I understand that he is one of the soldiers in trying to keep the narrative straight on martial law and the Marcoses on Wikipedia. So for those who ever look at Wikipedia and look at the entry on Marcos or martial law, you will see a back and forth battle to tell the truth or the untruth. To his right, we have Beng Cabangon, who is the Executive Director of the Philippine Educational Theater Association, a 50-year-old performing and teaching theater group which recently received the Ramon Magsaysay Award. Congratulations to PETA. To my left is Gang Badoy, not the other Badoy, this is the Goodoy. She co-founded Rock Ed many years ago and has been involved in many different advocacies, including including Citizen Save. To my right is Ed Lingao, an anchor for TV5, also formerly PCIJ, and also one of the foot soldiers to push back on a lot of the trolling that we are seeing, especially against journalists. And so we will hear from him and his story. And to his right is Jane Umachao, who's my tita. By the way, no, through marriage. And she's a co-founder of Blogwatch, which is a group of bloggers that have been very visible in the fight for truth and fighting fake news. So what I'd like to do is ask each of our panelists to give a 2-3 minute introduction in terms of what you're doing in your particular sphere to either fight fake news, to fight trolling, or on the other side of that same coin, to tell the truth or to push for truth telling. So, Carlos, since you look a little nervous. Naz, we'll call you Naz?
Yes.
Naz.
So, on the forefront of disinformation, I've been sort of fighting historical revisionism on Wikipedia. So there's whitewashing and disinformation, not just in websites, Twitter, Facebook, but also on Wikipedia. So there are many different aspects. Also, on the subject of Wikipedia, there's a page there, the list of fake news websites. So out of frustration on fake news websites, one day, I decided to start inserting the Filipino fake news websites in the international list of fake news websites. So as I was inserting them one by one, I suddenly noticed that there were a lot of Filipino fake news websites. So next slide, please. So on the left is the international list of fake news websites. On the right, combined, okay? On the right is the Philippine fake news websites. Yes, so as of 2 or 3 weeks ago, there were 59 international fake news websites on Wikipedia and 94 Filipino fake news websites. Next, yeah. Go Philippines, Pinoy pride. Next slide, please. So we're talking about best practices here. So I'm gonna talk short. I'm gonna try to go through this really quickly to show what we're up against. So these are copy paste ops on Facebook. So here you have claims of Digong enabling the DSWD to do rice distribution really fast. But next slide, please. Next slide. It's actually taken from the Tzu Chi Foundation Philippines. That image, see it's on the lower right. So it's a form of misinformation, disinformation, credit grabbing. Next slide. So on Twitter too, there are copy-paste armies. It could be bots, could be humans. But here it's about James Taylor. They were trying to discredit James Taylor for canceling his concert in Manila. Next slide. More Twitter copy-paste. This time it's with telcos. It's something to do with, it's a telco thing. It's another of our advocacies at Democracy Not Dead at Beach. We're fighting for a better Philippine internet. Okay, next slide. So here, this is very interesting. This is as of right now. If you go to the Facebook page of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, all the posts of the past 2 days have been swarmed and attacked by Filipino trolls. Every single post. And it's crazy, and it's also full of non sequiturs. Like here in the middle, you have something about children soldiers, but Filipinos are commenting on it. It has nothing to do with the Philippines anymore. Here on the right, it's a Spanish post. Filipinos are still commenting on it, also in Tagalog, and they're talking about Deng Vaxia. Nothing to do with Duterte anymore. So it's crazy. Next slide, please. So here we have an example of extrajudicial reporting or mass reporting with the target of our esteemed colleague here, Mr. Ed Lingao. So there's this certain person named Mr. Rio. He's calling for all of his followers to mass report Mr. Lingao here. So, and he even did a tutorial in YouTube. Next slide, please. DCW is Duterte Cyber Warriors. So here, he shows that first you report the post. Next slide. Then you select, I think it shouldn't be on Facebook. Next slide. Then Facebook asks, what's wrong with this post? Then you select something else. Next slide. Then you select, it describes buying or selling drugs, guns, or regulated products. Nothing to do with the actual post. So the post here is the picture of Libingan ng Mabayani, and they're reporting it for describing buying, selling drugs, guns, or regulated products. Next slide. And then they submit it to Facebook for review. So the problem here is the system is being gamed by these trolls. We don't know what's happening, but legitimate posts are being taken down. Facebook accounts are being taken down. And then in some cases, it's the victims who are being taken down. Like if a troll posts vicious messages, may you be raped, may you be beheaded, and then the victim, if she complains and posts screenshots of those messages, it's her account that even gets taken down, not the original ones, even if you report them. Next slide, please. So this is one of the results. This is a legitimate post from interaction.com. And then when you try to post it on Facebook, Facebook says, we have detected that this link may be malicious, and it removes the post. So that's very fishy. We don't know if it's via the algorithms of Facebook or the moderators of Facebook, whom I've heard or read about. Some are based in the Philippines, a number of them. Next slide, please. So this is my own personal experience. So this is very ironic, because this is an article about Rodrigo Duterte's army of online trolls. So I posted it on my wall, and then immediately Facebook stripped the post from my wall and said, we removed your post because it looks like spam to us. So what may have happened is that it was mass reported by trolls, and then either the algorithms kicked in and marked it as spam because it was reported as spam, or there could be moderators who did bad decisions and marked it as spam. So it's really ironic, trolls being successful. there. Next slide. So here's one of the enablers of all of the mass reporting, all of the harassment on Facebook. What are called account farms. This is an example from Lapu-Lapu City in Cebu. Here on the left, you have this business owner, this enterprising business owner, sitting on a bed of stacks and stacks of SIM cards. So what they're doing is they're creating what's called phone verified accounts on Facebook and Twitter. And they use these to create fake accounts, either for bots or for real persons who are running what are called sock puppet accounts, multiple accounts. And then they're just doing the trolling. They're botting, they're commenting, they're mass reporting. So they're not being shut down because technically what they're doing is not against any particular laws according to what they claim. There are also click farms, like click fraud and like farms, mass liking. But if you think about it, what they're doing is financial fraud and computer fraud because they're artificially inflating the stats of advertisements, engagement, etc. So what can we do? So now we get to the solutions. Next slide, please. So one of our suggestions is that all the journalists, civil society, academe, tech, creates well-vetted and researched lists of fake news websites with due process, of course, so that people can see what the fake news websites are. And then one of the things I discovered when compiling the list of Philippine fake news websites on Wikipedia was that a number of the fake news websites contained malware or viruses, and that you could get hacked just by visiting those websites. So it's bad to go to fake news websites because you can get hacked just by visiting it through what's called drive-by downloads. So what we should do is dissuade people from visiting fake news websites, not just for safety, but also to rob them of their clicks and their hits so that they don't earn money from it. And you will know there are various ways to tell what a fake news websites are, but hopefully that list above will help tell you which are the fake news websites. Also, on the same subject, and there's this project by NUJP, which is FakeBlock, which is a browser extension which will block fake news websites. If you see fake news websites, you can go to fakeblock.com and submit it to NUJP for adding to their list of fake news websites. And then on the subject of click farms and account farms, we should call on law enforcement to shut them down because they're doing computer fraud and financial fraud. And then Facebook, there should be some kind of accountability here and transparency because it's like a theme park with no safety precautions. So we should start holding them accountable. So Facebook should engage with stakeholders, so media, civil society. We should all engage with Facebook instead of just Rappler, who's holding the line. Get together and ask Facebook, hey, you should take a serious look at the Philippines because this is a serious problem in the Philippines. So they should be transparent on their algorithms and their methods of moderation and why these sites and posts are getting taken down. And then we should also call on Facebook to ban fake user accounts to get rid of all these trolls. Because they did it for France. They banned 30,000 fake user accounts in France. Why can't they do it for the Philippines, you know? We're a big market. Our internet population, our Facebook population is bigger than the living population of first world countries like Australia and Canada. And then discernment. We should do online media literacy campaigns. And then do not be intimidated. Do not be silenced. Hold the line. Keep speaking out. Do not be afraid of the trolls.
Thank you, Naz. You apparently don't have a lot of spare time, do you?
Yeah.
You talked about Facebook takedowns, and I think one of the more famous cases was the case of Ed, where he posted something about martial law, and because of that, I think your Facebook account was deactivated or taken down. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, Ed.
Yeah, this was in 2016. I think it was just around late May or early June. And there was a statement by the president that Marcos would be buried at the libingan ng mga bayani. And I wrote a bit of a long piece on why he should not. Basically, that was it. I think it was a sober piece. I don't think it was very emotional, and I had a lot of facts. And I got a lot of trolls. And then I got a notice from Facebook later on, after a few days, saying that my post violated community standards. So it was being taken down. And then a few days later, I was informed by Facebook that I was being suspended for violating community standards. So, so I complained. Of course, to somebody else, because my Facebook was suspended. So we networked with Facebook, and they apologized, saying that they made a mistake. So that's the short version of it. But there have been several other attempts over the past year and a half to take me down, specifically by people who love Marcos or who love Duterte. Like, there was a time I was receiving messages from Facebook saying that that there have been complaints about my profile picture. It was offensive. Well, it wasn't my picture. It was a picture of my backpack, all muddy. And there was a patch that says, give no bull, take no shit. I don't know if that was offensive to you, but but yeah, I've seen much more offensive things online than give no bull and take no shit. So, no, give no bullshit, take no bullshit. Anyway, you know what I mean. So that's been a cycle for the past so many months. And I've been interacting with a lot of trolls, both real and imagined. I say real and imagined because some of them are clearly fake accounts, but a lot of them are real people, and that to me is the saddest part of all of it. I mean, I can deal with fake accounts because, you know, you're just making a living. I give you that. But when you get messages from people who have on their profile picture their babies or their family, and they say, putang ina mo, mamatay ka na. Ulul ka, and all that. These are real people, and they're true believers. And that to me is more offensive than the people who make a living. Who make a living. Yeah. Okay, but sumasabi ko eh. Let me put it this way lang. How do I deal with it? This is how I deal with it. From the professional point of view, I deal with it by doing explanatory stories in my newscast, in the newscast. Several times I've done a big lead wall. It's a big wall where I have data, I have facts, I have Supreme Court decisions, and explain the decisions about the Marcos wealth. I've done that thrice already, and that's been terribly trolled. As in, really trolled. They talk about everything from the way I look to the way I talk. Bulol ka kasi. Ako naman di na baling bulol, wag lang tanga. But anyway. So it goes that way. And the arguments go back and forth that hindi mo ba alam na mayaman ang mga Marcos dati pa? Have you not heard of the Taliano gold? The Taliano gold? What's that? Oh, there's this myth going around that long time ago, the Philippines was governed by the Royal Tagian Taliano family of the Maharlika, and that they gifted Ferdinand Marcos 400,000 metric tons of gold in 1947. That is the source of the wealth. And a lot of people really believe that. They really fight for it, and they even show documents online to prove that they're correct. And gago ka ba, Ed? Hindi ka ba nag-research? Ito. You just look for the website of the World Gold Council, and they will tell you that in all of human history, mankind has only mined 197,000 metric tons of gold. So hindi pa nahuhukay ng tao, sangkatauhan, nakuha na ng mga Marcos. Because they claim to have 400,000 metric tons. So may mga gano'n. Sometimes all it takes is Googling. Of course, in the proper way. So that's one. The other one is social media. I try to do the same thing. If I come across any particular issue that really grates on me, whether it's EJK or the Marcoses, I write about it lengthily. I know people hate reading Facebook posts that are lengthy. I don't care. I just go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. If you don't want to read it, it's up to you. But I will write, and I get a lot of feedback, both good and bad. But I want the feedback. And I leave my Facebook profile open. Why? People have told me then, many times, you should restrict it. You should, so that you don't get the stress. It's not that I like the stress, but if I restrict it, who will read what I write? My friends. Ay, tayo nagkakasundo. Oy, appear. Ganun ba ang gusto natin? Social media is now being populated by so many people with, with far out mindsets. You want to reach out to them. You want to reach out. If you want to reach out only to your friends and have an echo chamber, well and good. But if you really want to make a difference, open up, engage, and fight. Otherwise, tayo nagkakasundo. And that to me is the bigger problem. Tayo nagkakasundo. It's comfortable. Believe me, it's comfortable. I could do that. It's comfortable. But it's not fun. Ay, mali. But it's not right. There's more to social media than socializing. We've gotten to the point where more than half of the population, at least in the US, in the last Pew survey, more than half of the population, 62%, get their news from social media. This is the US. I'm sure it's bigger here. Kasi whenever I give a talk with students, I ask people, how many of you get your news from Facebook? Lahat taasan ng kamay. Wala nagbabasa ng dyaryo. Pero konti. I mean, mga bata, puro sila Facebook. They wait for stories to be shared. And who shares the stories on your timeline? Your friends, your groups, and your echo chamber. And that is all. So nakukulong tayo doon. Nakakaba tuloy ako. Sige. So engage and don't ignore. Minsan it's heartbreaking kasi sometimes they hit really below the belt. Sasabihin ako na kaya namatay ang anak mo dahil gago ka. O kaya magkita ka ng anak mo sa impyerno. My kid died in May last year. Ganon kagrabe minsan. Iba pa yung mga pasasabuhin ko ulo mo. Which has become a bit repetitious na. When I get those kinds of threats, I just tell them, hintayin kita, gusto mo? Tapos ma-offend sila. Ba't masyado ka mainit? But anyway, sige. Patapos na ako. Sige. So, but of course, it's your option. You can make your Facebook public, or you can make it private. That's your option. My suggestion lang is if you want to make a real difference, you fight for what you think is your right to be online. Don't surrender the space to people who are faceless, nameless, and mindless. Sayang eh. Sayang, doon tayo natatalo eh. So yun, also we have seminars as much as I can. If there's an invitation to talk about fake news, I try to talk about fake news, especially with kids. It's what they call media literacy. In the US and in Canada, they recognize that this is a big problem, yung fake news, and they've instituted a curriculum on media literacy. If you want nga, you go to the Stanford University website, it's a downloadable curriculum that they've made available to fight fake news on media literacy. You can easily tweak it for the local context. It's how to develop the thinking of kids na you should be more critical with what you read. Basically, that's where it starts eh. Dun sa Facebook, I don't believe in legislating anything. I don't believe in the Senate hearing on fake news. It's a good thing that they didn't ask me to talk anymore, even though they invited me, kasi I would have told them, mali ang premise ninyo. You are going after bloggers when you are talking about legislating against fake news. But a blog is commentary, it's opinion. It's their right to say what they want. It is not fake news. If you look at the Stanford University study last year, they try to define fake news. It's simply deliberate attempts to spread misinformation through what looks like news. So you will come across websites that are like aljazeera-tv.com o kaya cnnfuji.com o timbuktu.com, mga ganun. And it looks like the real websites, but it's fake. And you will see headlines like FBR arrested for drug possession or drug use. Parang, ang tanda-tanda na yung tabako, di na nga nagsisindi ng tabako niya, tapos drug use pa. O kaya, Sereno on watch after attempted suicide. Diba? So these are things that are spreading around. And yun nga, but I would like to caution, last point, okay. I would like to caution against yung we hate fake news, but we fight fake news online, but we don't let government fight it for us. The last person you'd want to fight fake news would be government. Because any administration throughout history will label anything that goes against their official line as fake, erroneous, or political driven. In other words, mag-expose ka, mali yung information mo, fake ka, erroneous ka. So you will rely on government to prosecute what it labels as fake? No, it should be us. Mababa na, sige.
Thank you. No, thank you. Moving on from Wikipedia and Facebook battlefronts, another battlefront, of course, are the blogs. And I think Maria yesterday shared with us where some of the epicenters are for this battle for the minds in the blogosphere. And one of the leading groups in the blogosphere is Blogwatch. And so maybe, Jane, you could share with us a little bit about what you at Blogwatch do to try to battle fake news and try to put forth the truth.
Okay, before anything else, bago mawala pa yung time, I just want to say that much as what has been said before about bloggers, there are responsible bloggers, okay? If there's anything you need to take away, there are responsible bloggers, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Blogwatch. I'm talking about the circle of bloggers that I've known since I started blogging in 2006. Noemi here is another one who also joined me in 2006. Wala pang social media noon. Nagumpisa lang ang social media sometime, it really escalated sometime 2007, 2008. And pumasok kami as Blogwatch 2009, and we've been monitoring and trying to engage the administration since then. This thing about fake news was not there before eh. When we saw social media, we really saw it as a potential for social good. Kasi we covered the 2010 automated elections. We were able to interview 7 of 9 presidentiables, some of the vice presidents' candidates, and the senatoriables. And it looked like social media was very bright then. Nagumpisa lang itong fake news na to sometime 2013. We already started seeing the trolling. Every time we would cover the interview of a candidate, sasabihin nung kabila, ay bayaran kayo. Pero when we interview naman yung party nila, yung party naman nung kabila, sasabihin, bayaran kayo. Oh, so bayaran pala kami on both sides, so we must be doing something good. So this bayaran term was already starting in 2013. But now, in 2016, fake news, the trolling, the bashing, the flaming, all of this really escalated. Level up siya talaga. And it's been very hard even for us who are bloggers, no, who are trying to really put some sense and some calm into all of these issues to try to overturn those which are noisy. So I am not for restricting those who may be noisy and who are bashing. In fact, on Blogwatch, I wrote 2 posts defending Mocha Uson. Imagine that. I defend yes, because I defend anybody's right to speak. Okay? So I defended her twice, 2 articles. The first article, I defended her when people wanted to have her Facebook blog put down. So I wrote about 5 reasons why it should not be put down. The second time I wrote in her defense was when people were bashing her for becoming a columnist. Kasi hindi naman daw niya deserve maging columnist. Pero I also defended her on that. But when she came out in the first Senate hearing on fake news, and she said that blogger lang ako, no? And in other words, it's as if you're a blogger, you have to be exempted from any responsibility. Nag-ano na kami, nag-react na kami as Blogwatch. And in fact, Noemi and I, we spoke to some people, and we really spoke out and said, that's not the view of at least the bloggers I know, because the bloggers I know are very responsible. Let me just go through some of the things that we on Blogwatch do. Mind you, this is Blogwatch, no? Every blogger will have his or her own way of being responsible. So kanya-kanya yan, no? Hindi ito parang set code. But at least I'll speak for what we do in Blogwatch, no? Sa Blogwatch, very, very clear on our site, hindi kami tumatanggap ng ads. Meron lang kaming isang ad dyan, and that so happens to be one of the telcos who provides internet whenever we go and interview candidates or we have cover a forum. But other than that, wala. And we've spoken about this before because sariling sikap ang Blogwatch. We are not funded. We pay for our own internet. We pay for our own domain. No? So lahat sariling sikap. And there was a time when people said, magpa-ads na lang kayo para at least masupport yung domain nyo. Pero ang naging problem namin dyan is we were afraid that the moment we would have ads, baka ma-compromise kami. Because we were writing not only about political aspects, as citizen advocates, we were covering other issues. And we could possibly cover issues of companies that might be interested in advertising with us. So sabi namin, para walang problema, wag na. Number two, if you will look there, meron kaming mga disclaimers and disclosures. So number one, we disclose who is part of our editorial board. May mga pangalan dyan, so you can see it, no? Go to blogwatch.tv. Number two, it's very clear on our sidebar that we do not accept remuneration for interviews. Hindi kami tumatanggap ng kahit anong bayad, whether cash or kind. Siguro pakainin nyo lang kami, happy na kami. One of the policies in Blogwatch is before kasi when we were interviewing already, we would get approached by PR, and the PR would say, "Can you interview this politician?" And when we talked about it, we realized that whether it's true or not, if a politician goes through public relations agency, most likely that agency got paid. And it's very difficult for us as advocates to be brought in by that agency, knowing that the agency will get paid and we do not get paid. Because pag lumabas na binayaran yung agency, baka ang conclusion, binayaran din kami. So, ang aming stand ngayon is any politician who wants to get interviewed, we talk directly to the media team of that person. So, we also have a corrections policy. Alam nyo, we are not perfect. As bloggers, we also get our news only from whatever sources we have. Most of our sources are the mainstream media. Some of them are network sources. But we could get it wrong sometimes. So may correction policy kami. If you bring it up to us and we look at it and we see that nagkamali kami, we're going to issue an erratum, and if it need be, we will take down the post if it has to be taken down. Also, our editorial board takes care of checking posts for libel. Dati marami pa kaming writers, ngayon medyo kumonti na kami kasi the others went into other ventures. So kami, we cross-check ourselves for libel because we do realize that anything that we write might be able to influence others, and we have to be responsible in our writings. So one of the things that we really are doing now when we see fake news, kino-call out namin yan. So we call it out on social media, and if it warrants an article, we will write an article also about it. So those are some of the things that we are doing, not only as bloggers, but also as social media practitioners. Just keep calling out. And I don't know how many here are bloggers. Can we just have a show of hands? Is there anybody here owning a blog or something? Okay, there are quite a few, yeah. So for me, that's it. We call out as we see it. And we will also continue to engage the administrations. It doesn't matter what administration. We tried to engage the Aquino administration before when we were there. Now we're trying to engage the Duterte administration, and it will still continue even after this administration.
Thank you, Jane. I'd like to hear now from someone who has a fairly large social media footprint. And I'd like to hear from you, gang. Yeah, ikaw yun. Large social media footprint. How do you battle the fake news that you work for the PCOO?
I'm very verbal, so this is an effort for me to make it as short as possible. I came from, no, I'm trying to avoid verbose. Galing ako nagbuo ako ng NGO para sa mga high school at college. 10 years yon. 10 years aggressive, and then in the last 3 years, we focused on Mindanao, and now it's just, now it's evolved into a sports athletic league for girls only in Mindanao. Parang that's our main project now. Well, I know I'm rarely nervous, but I'm nervous now. I think it's because I'm sharing a heartbreak. Okay, so he was really cute. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't even get to momol. Damn. Sorry. I'm sharing a heartbreak because, you know, for 10 years, I kept saying, the war is not online, the war is in real life, the war is in your school. Fight against poverty outside, volunteer, go to the streets, go out, mag-commute ka naman. Masyado kayong burgis, go out na. The war is not 2D, it's not online, 3D, always 3D. Get your integrity on earth, not on the net. And you know, when this administration started, I heard myself talking to schools, and I started saying, wag muna kayo mag-volunteer siguro sa province. Siguro, baka mas okay kung sure kayo na safe yung area. Baka dapat, you know, stay online na lang and it was crazy. I didn't even notice it. I noticed it on the 4th school. Na, what am I saying? And sabi ko, kasi people were asking us, we have this great human rights celebration for 10 years. We have 8 simultaneous concerts in the train stations celebrating the Millennium Development Goals, and we held that for 10 years. It's so public. Imagine, train stations, hundreds of kids, 100, 200 bands, and not once, kahit sprain, sore eyes, sipon, tisod, walang nangyari. Now that I look back, I'm thinking, oh, that's a crazy risk. Because we were in the Cubao station, etc. When somebody said, gang, bakit tumahimik kayo? Now, Human Rights, December 2016, now is the time we should rock the relays again. Because, you know, Kian died, so-and-so died, you know, all these kids are dying. Why are you not holding a concert in the MRT, other than the fact it's not moving? I said, heartbreakingly, I said, parang the air changed. It's not the time to risk our kids out so much in the open, to gather in such an open way that anybody can come in and make a mess and fuck our event up just to make a statement. They can plant shit, they can plant drugs, they can to ruin even just me or Lord or whoever is part of Rock-Ed, and I can't risk that. Can you imagine how heartbreaking that is? Like, my entire, you know, obviously I'm ADD, ADHD. Obviously I'm easily distracted. Do you know that Rock-Ed is the first thing I've done with so much focus for 10 years, non-stop, every day, 24/7, 365. All I talked about, that's all I talked about, and that's all I did. I'm not even a consistent person. Good God, I must have cheated on boyfriends. Why did I need to say that? That's fine. To make a point. I have never been as faithful. Does that make sense? Can you imagine how heartbreaking it was for me to hear myself say, kids, wag muna mag-volunteer ngayon, baka now is not the time. Kids, wag muna kayo mag-commute. Kung pwede kayo magsabay-sabay umuwi, don't walk in the street. Don't, you know, stay safe. What? Stay safe? I was the one that used to say, go. Go, mag-commute naman kayo. Katiri naman kayo, hindi kayo marunong mag-commute. Ngayon, here, I'm so nervous pag ko-commute yung mga pamangkin ko. What happened? We know the answer. Maybe we don't, maybe we do, but that's my question. So unlike Ed, I can't open my Facebook account because I realize I need to choose a jurisdiction. It's like in volleyball, you have a zone. I'm choosing my zone, and you know my zone is tough. It's family and friends. That's harder. I can fight a troll. I can fight a troll as politely, as gently, with a jab as I can. That's my expertise. I'm the youngest of 10. I can fight without using a bad word, so that's my expertise. But you know, I can't open because I realize I really need to engage those who will listen to me, those whom I've known all my life, those whom I've seen, and just right now, and they're shocking me with the differences in opinion, and really that shouldn't shock me. But ito yung gusto kong kausapin. Kasi alam mo, kahit close ko, hindi pa rin echo chamber yung Facebook ko. Kahit umuwi ako, hindi echo chamber doon. Kayo rin, your families, it's the same. Hindi na echo chamber. May ibang calling lang si Ed. Kasi iba siya eh. But that's great. It's the same fight, I think, different arsenal of choice. You choose your sphere of influence, that's me. You fight at home too, that's fine. That's where it starts. If you're religious, you know charity begins at home, yaw, 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 yaw. But yun yung mas mahirap na fight. Tingin ko. I think yun yung mas mahirap. Ang dali kaya makipag-away sa cute girl 88. Hindi ko siya kilala eh, di ba? Mahirap kung pareho kaming apelido. Mahirap kung ate ko. Mahirap kung kuya ko. Mahirap. But you need to. Mahirap kung tita mo. Oh, yan yung pinakamahirap sa akin sa lahat. May tita ko whom I love. And she'll always say, masanay ka na, he's just funny. Sobrang hirap mag-fight na may puro po sa gitna. Pero ayokong tumahimik. And it's hard. So choose your target market. I don't engage to win an argument. Don't engage to win an argument. Engage because something needs to be said. I don't want to win the argument of is shooting the vagina funny or not. I'm engaging because it shouldn't be funny, because it's not funny. By any measure. By any measure. So I stretched my neck out for that one. This is the first angry post I've had in a while. And I said, not funny. Because we have daughters and sons, we need to teach. And I think if you're head of state, your number one job is to guard culture, guard character, guard ugali. It's not even economics or infrastructure or build. If you're president, you're the living, breathing flag. And you're the one that says, shoot them in the vagina talaga. And you, by the way, ang ganda pa nga ng shoot your vagina eh. Parang biological book pa yung napipicture ko eh. That's not even how he said it. You heard it in Visayan. If you speak Visayan, you can picture it, and it's gross. I like some of his decisions. I like the bravado. I get the charm. But there are lines. And again, I'm saying this because I'm not anti-Duterte. I am not pro-Duterte. I am so pro-next generation. Parang wait, let's behave. Parang ganon. Konting ayos naman. Engage not to win the argument. Engage to make what is true win. Engage to make humanity win, humanness win. I was going to say decency, but the LPs ruined it for me. So I'm going to say, make manners man lang. Putsa, kahit manners na lang. Di ba? Po, opo, good afternoon, not really, sorry, excuse me. Sana punta yun? Hindi ito pwede. Kahit konting ayos lang, konti lang. President Duterte, lovely guy, charming man, funny. I've encountered him up close. He's really, but as head of state, come on. Ano ba? You don't tell a son, anak, you cannot be misogynistic. You might not be president someday. No, you can. Oh my God, paano natin i-undo lahat yun? That's generations. It's not anymore if Duterte is misogynistic. It's already a question is, are you misogynistic? Am I? Because, you know, if I keep quiet about the shooting the vagina comment, that makes me the worst misogynist because I'm female and I'm not even protecting my fellow females. That makes me the worst misogynist of all. If I had a penis, I'd have an excuse, but I don't. So women in government, is this really okay with you? I'm sure hindi rin eh. And when you say, sir, hindi masyadong funny yun it doesn't mean you hate him. It doesn't mean he's not a good president with Bill. It has something to do with Deng Vaksha. It has something to do with what daughters are hearing, what sons are seeing. No. I also didn't like the last administration so much. Okay lang. But they had manners a bit. Every now and then. On podiums, they did. On podiums, they did, for sure. So, I guess my point is, silence can't be the option anymore. Especially since naurong yung fight. Umatras talaga tayo eh. Dati encouraging ko, 3D, real life. Ngayon, okay, battlefield talaga ang Facebook. Dahil nandun tayo nakatingin 70% of the time. Dahil yung brain natin, fonts ang nakikita halos buong araw. So, at nandun ang kabataan. We used to bring for us to clubs and discos and bars and big concerts. You know why? Because that's where the kids are. That's where the kids were. Now, the kids are on their phones. So the war is there. The forum needs to be taken there. The discussion needs to be taken there. Truth needs to be taken there, discussed there. Silence right now is violent. If you are silent, you're adding to the violence. So don't be silent, online or in real life, in your families or in the wider. Hindi na pwede, sorry. I was quiet for a year. Because I had to position my puwet, family-wise, and my uncle, and my half-sister, I was balancing everything. So I tried to keep quiet. Maybe in 100 days, this admin will, be easier to defend, or etc. You please know, my family's, I've worked with the guy. Rock Ed Davao is the best, really, and he was a great mayor. So it was confusing for me, so I kept quiet for a while. After a year, I realized, I think my silence contributed to the violence, and enough.
Thank you, Gang. Well, I've never accused you of being quiet. And I'd like to hear now from Beng, who, as head of PETA, is engaging in the real world. Now, discussion has been mostly about how we engage in the digital world. But PETA is, as a performing arts group, about telling the truth, about social commentary. So tell us a little bit about that thing.
All right. First of all, I have a confession to make. Si Gang, no, parang siya yung taga-theater, no? No, I have a confession to make. I don't have a Facebook account. So maybe that's why I'm sober. No, but I do agree that, but if you know my birthday. No, I don't have a Facebook account, but it doesn't mean that I'm not affected by fake news and all the disinformation. And I do agree with Gang that the social media is a war field, but yes, there are also other war fields, and that's the war field in real life, no? And that's what PETA is really mostly engaged in, no? Vince mentioned earlier, we're a 50-year-old company, so we've been through many presidents. We've been around before martial law. We were around during martial law. During the martial law period, we've always said that our theater is here to combat the culture of silence. And then we were around after martial law when there was democratic space. And we said, so what's our theater here for now? And we said, our theater is here to empower people, especially those in the margins, so they can participate in the space provided by the post-martial law era. And we're still around in this new and very challenging times. And we have been continuously challenged. And I guess for PETA, we've always said that since we've always believed that theater is something that should continue to be relevant to people and society, more than ever now we say that we still continue to play a role. Not only PETA, not only theater, but the arts in general have roles to play now in these very challenging times. Before I go into that, I'd like to share with you one thing that we did. Last year, we were approached by a group of ex-political detainees during the martial law period to come up with a play on martial law. And I must say, for an organization that has been doing a lot of plays during the martial law period, ito naman yung time na parang, oh my goodness, papaano mo pa ba ikakwento ang martial law sa panahon ngayon? With a different audience now. So it was really a very, very challenging task for us. Tapos nagkataon nga, as Ed was mentioning, ito rin yung period na ililibing na si Marcos. And for some reason, nakaisip kami, gagawa tayo ng play. And that play, that musical is what we called a game of trolls. Okay? Of course, we wanted to reach out to the millennials. So we tried to use also some popular, popular ideas, popular concepts that are closer to them. So we entitled the play A Game of Trolls. Ang shortcut namin doon, AGOT. And that was the period then when Agot Isidro got into trouble sa social media for saying something about the government, no? So anyway, the story really revolved around isang bata na troll. He's not doing it for political reasons. He was just doing it for the money. Walang personalan, trabaho lang. But it so happened that his parents were actually martial law activists, and they were put in jail, they were tortured, etc. And it was a whole process of discovering, learning, unlearning, bridging again the ties that were destroyed because of their separation as he was growing up with his parents being detained, and finally finding an understanding of and a closure to everything that has happened. And we're very happy to see, and we made it a point that this play was really performed to different schools, and we were really targeting millennials to come to the theater. It was musical, it had its drama, it had its comedy, and there was a lot of trolling, and we used a lot of multimedia. And we're very, very happy that, many of the feedbacks that we receive is that the play worked very well for them. More than anything else, I think the important part is that many of the young people who came to the theater did not easily conclude, but started asking questions. Genuine questions, real questions, and really getting genuinely concerned about and interested in ano ba talaga yung nangyari. And if only for that, we're very, very happy with the success and the effect of that play. And the play is still continuing, and we hope that us in PETA, that we'd still be doing a lot of similar things like this. Of course, late last year also, we did a revival of a classic, Bertolt Brecht's Galileo Galilei, which is, Galileo is the one who was persecuted for insisting that the world, the planets do not revolve around the Earth, but rather we revolve around the sun. So it was really an interrogation of truth, and where does truth emanate, and how truth is challenged. And again, I think it's a very fitting contribution in a context where we're all filled up with disinformation, with fake news, where everybody seems to be searching for the truth, and there's just so much noise. And so, to the question, what is it really that theater, PETA, or the arts can do? I think apart from the arts being a source of entertainment, if only the arts will continue to, its mission to educate, to make people think, to make people feel, in theater to provide that kind of communal experience, to give us a sense of community, for theater to provide us the courage and the hope. So that, as Gang was saying, diba, where do we find the courage and the hope to continue what we're doing, to find the strength so that we will be able to, together as a community, battle. I also do not support censorship. So I think our real concern is how do we equip people, how do we challenge people to be always on their toes, thinking, reflecting, learning, unlearning things, so that all of this in our desire to find what's real and what's hopeful and what's beautiful for ourselves, for our communities, for our families.
Thank you, Bang. I've been given the 5-minute warning, so I'll ask my panelists to keep their answers short. Try to keep it tweet length. 280 characters. So I'll just go quickly through questions. There's one here for Naz. What happens if trolls start taking advantage of the solutions you presented? That is, having their own media literary forums or developing their own browser extensions. How can we stay ahead of them in that regard? 280 characters, please.
I don't think they'll develop their own browser extensions, but there is a worry that they'll start co-opting Wikipedia again. We need volunteers to help fight the historical revisionism in Wikipedia. We need more Pinoys.
More volunteers for Naz, please. A question for Ed. I understand that there's value in opening one's social media account in order to reach people beyond one's echo chamber. But how do you protect yourself from the threats? For journalists in particular, how do they strike a balance between reaching out to citizens and ensuring their own safety?
If they threaten you over Facebook, to me, that's of no value. Nangaasal lang yan. Kasi it's on Facebook. Why would they threaten you on Facebook? They should just shoot you if they're going to shoot you. They're just trying to scare you. Now, of course, there are other ways to protect yourself. Like, for example, kung mahilig ka mag-post kung nasaan ka at the very moment, that's the wrong thing to do. Diba? You have to be conscious about security online, even as you engage people online. Diba? Minsan mahilig kasi tayo selfie, tapos upload ka agad. So, you tell everybody where you are. And that's not really very safe. So there are things that you can do online to fight trolls and fight fake news, but there are things that you should also remember to do online that would protect you, your privacy, and your family safety. Last point na lang. In the case of my daughter, I've been trolled endlessly about that. Everything I post about my daughter is now on private. Everything else is public. So as far as I'm concerned, don't touch my daughter. Yun lang. Everything else, away tayo.
Thank you, Ed. Last question, and I guess this is for anyone who cares to answer it. Do you think it's necessary na mahiya ang tao sa internet? Lalo na if he or she spreads fake news. Mamahiya. Mamahiya. Sorry. Sorry.
Short answer, yes. Mahiya.
Humiliate them? Parang ako hindi.
No. Magpahiya.
Do you think it's
necessary na mamahiya ng tao?
mamahiya? Sorry, mamahiya.
Ilang.
There's a use for it. There's a use for it. It depends.
If it's consequence versus if it's on purpose,
Yeah.
it's easy.
Oh, go ahead.
Feeling mo, ako na nag-interview sandali. Tingin mo? Okay.
Yeah,
Kasi ako medyo, I would like to
Because,
choose.
they make us look stupid, but if we also make them look stupid, parang diffuse yung yung power nila.
Baka mag non-stop kasi. Kasi
Yeah,
pag may pinahiya ka,
escalation.
grabe. Di ba yung mga pinahiya ka nung 4 years old ka, hanggang ngayon galit ka dun eh.
So
Di ba?
there's a limit, but there's
Ako
a
may
use
mga
for it.
dalawa. Pero di ba, so parang pag hindi mo pinahiya, out and out, I do that eh. But you can correct possibly the fact, but not so much to humiliate the person. I think that's what I meant when I don't engage to win in an argument or to look like I won an argument versus, accounts. I think I engage because I need to say something. Like,
So, since there are trolls
Pero
there,
some deserve it.
maybe there can be counter trolls.
Oh, wow. Komplikado na nun. Pero,
Okay.
Counter trolls what
Halo
to?
na yan, Halo.
Okay.
Halo. Call of Duty. Last question. In relation to Ms. Gang's statement about the youth's role in society, how can high school/campus journalists like myself incite intellectual discourse and discussion amidst their beliefs that they are only young, and to keep it in mind that they are the primary medium of information today?
Okay. Discourse has to happen. Discussion has to happen. Arguments have to happen. But I think always check yourself. Me, when I read something, the first thing I say is, does it deserve my reaction? Usually, no. Usually, madami yung no. Reply ba ako dito? Yun yung unang question. Alright? Because you can't fight all the wars. You choose the war. And then the second question is, you need to, kanina, just this morning, I had a discussion, and I said something that I have said for the first time. So I'm going to say it again. It just so happened that Noy and Duterte are primary decision makers. That's why they look like they're central in our argument. But they're not. And if you listen to your argument and my argument, we're both fighting for a better Philippines. So how about let's not include Duterte or Aquino or Laila De Lima or any of the people in our argument, but let's just discuss how we should treat women, kasi that was our topic. To the one who asked the question, JC, incite discourse, insight, discussion, but to be really clear, if you can take out, extract people and names from it, that might be a good step one. It might be a good first square one. Only if you can't help it and your samples for your arguments will have to be people, then you can come in. But for me, you can always discuss things that do not involve the personality, or that's the cult actually now. That's why let's discuss misogyny, let's discuss bad vaccines, let's discuss bad decisions, and then how about let's try no names first? Then maybe we'll move, right? Because it's just better that way.
Okay, I've been informed we're in overtime. We're given 10 minutes overtime. No, we're giving 10 minutes. I have a question here, and I'll direct it to Ed, since he's the only professional journalist on the panel. Does fake news come exclusively from so-called fake news sites, or may also come from legitimate media networks? When a news network distorts or slants facts and presents half-truths in a story to favor a certain party, can you also classify that news item as fake news? Are biased networks the front runners of fake news?
Okay. Medyo mahabang diskusyon yan.
We have 10 minutes, but don't take the 10 minutes.
There's this big issue with media bias. Everybody talks about bias, but ang konti na nakakatitin ko ng bias. Let me lay it out. Everybody is biased. Even reporters are biased. Don't take me out of context. Okay, let's contextualize. When we cover an event, we are already biased. Why did you cover that event? Ba't ka nag-cover ng human rights story? Ba't di ka nag-cover ng mga pampaputi ng kilikili na, na launching? Because it's editorial judgment. But then that's bias. Why did you ask this question? Why not that? Why did you interview that person? Why not that person? Because it's editorial judgment. Then that's bias. You make selections based on what you think is relevant and important, and that is why you're supposed to be reporters. You're supposed to make good editorial calls on what you think and what you think. I know this is the big gray area. What you think could be important to your readers and to your viewers. That's the trade-off. There really are biases. In fact, if you look at the American Press Institute website, they have a very, very good discussion on handling media bias and objectivity. They tell us na acknowledge bias, just manage it. Because bias is what makes you good reporters. I think that's my wife.
You gotta go? You gotta go?
Bias is what makes us good reporters, because you're supposed to be biased for democratic institutions, human rights, all these things. Otherwise, you are stenographers. Otherwise, you're stenographers. At 2-hour press con, you just transcribe it and then put it online. And who's going to read that? Nobody. Kumahaba ang discussion there. So, now having said that, yes, there are institutions in media and there are reporters in media who do not do a good job when it comes to making decisions on whether or not this is worth writing, or this is the right angle, or this is more important than the others. May problema naman talaga kami. That's a given. And that's something we've been fighting. That's something we've been fighting for the longest time. Something we've been trying to reform. Unfortunately, in the last year and a half, the tide has turned against us, and it's being used against us to diminish the institution and make it even weaker. And that's not helping. No, okay, sorry, long answer. Let me cut to the chase. So, is there fake news in mainstream media? It depends on how you define fake news. If you go by what I think is the more common academic definition of fake news, hindi. Hindi. There can be erroneous stories in mainstream media. There can be mistaken stories on mainstream media, but not necessarily fake news in mainstream media. If you go by the definition that fake news is a story that pretends to be from a news site. So that's the long and short of it. And that, for purposes of them trying to deliberate on whether to legislate against fake news, I think that's a workable definition.
Thanks, Ed. I think I'd like to ask all the panelists to react to this. And yes, in yesterday's discussion, we talked about how fake news is actually sexier. It's more, it creates more intrigue when you say that Senator Kiko is holding hands with Senator Risa, it's intriguing and it's easy to pick up on that. And someone said, well, the truth stands by itself alone and is not sexy. But can truth be made sexy, or can it be made or stated in a way that will engage the public in the way that fake news?
Actually, the job of reporters is to make the boring relevant to people. I mean, who wants to talk about peace talks or the economy? How many people really want to read about that? So the job of reporters is to make what would be boring but important interesting to people who should care. Sometimes we do a bad job. And that's when you call us out. But that's the job. Otherwise, we should just do the song and dance.
Vince, I think for us, it's really just a matter of creativity. I mean, we're in the arts. Sometimes we are also all about telling stories about things that are potentially boring, but with a lot of it's just all about creativity. It's finding the human connection and making that story, pierce through the heart, up in the brain, and hopefully translate into action.
Actually, I'm an accountant by profession. So I used, auditor. I was an auditor pati. I was an auditor. So that's the reason why best practices is really ingrained in me. Kasi from the very beginning, talagang ganun na yung aking trabaho. Pero beyond that, no, what I'm just really saying now is for the students here, no, for example, be very careful about the URLs. Kasi very often that's where we get misled because sa URL pa lang, if you're already on the wrong site, chances are you're going to buy into whatever is there, no? Pero because I love numbers, I like it when, for example, PCIJ would come out with a very, very long form expose on, let's say, the statement of assets and liabilities of the politicians, no? So I am able to understand that, but it's not sexy for a lot of people. Pero what if you made that into a video where, let's say, you compared numbers to how many more, what's the equivalent in terms of houses, in terms of cars, in terms of number of foreign trips, no? Then chances are the people will be able to understand those numbers, but in a more creative, imaginative way. So for me, it's really an art now, and I think that's the challenge for every media organization, and maybe including bloggers like me, kasi I tend to write, in a more business-like way. Pero I do realize now that the audience, sometimes our audience now, because the millennials, you're used to fast things, right? Anything beyond 2 pages, siguro hindi na kayo magbabasa. Anything that is all text and no video and no pictures, boring, di ba? So we really need to be able to put all of your mindset into the kind of writing we do. And then it's the same thing presented in a different way. So I think that's really the challenge, and that's the challenge for each and every one of us, including me as a blogger.
Definitely an advocate of that, because I was the one that had the idea to let's hold human rights forums within a concert, because we wanted to cater to and talk to them in their language, in their setup, in their pace. I also think it was a mistake, because maybe we should have given them more rigor, more endurance to read more than 140 characters. Maybe we contributed in the 10 years that we were trying to make human rights sexier than it is to them. Maybe we contributed to the malaise or the lethargy now of the young. I'm looking back now and parang pinadali namin, digestible form, is that effective? Yes, pero parang may long-range bad effect siya. So I think my dream now is for not so much to make what is necessary, sexier or more creative, but that's always good. But I think while we're doing this, hopefully we can change attitudes and frames of mind that what is necessary is actually more sexy than anything on earth, and that idiocy is not sexy, that lying is hardly sexy, ang layo, that saying the truth, no matter how boring it is fucking seductive. That's how it should be. Maybe it's that change of mind that we should have. Not so, but we should still make it interesting. We should still make it digestive. this is where we need creativity. Pero sana let's not forget the long haul flight, which is really build endurance again. Hindi na tayo nakakabasa ng novel, walang mentality of length, and maybe we contributed to that. Maybe it's time to go back and try to find our way back into having the endurance to read again. Because you can't imagine how much the world or the greatest of all people in generations must have done their best decisions because they read. Because they read books. You can't imagine how much fucked up children with weird parents and parenting have transcended it and came out better as adults and became spectacular parents because they read a book. So can you imagine? Can you imagine? So we'll do this. We will be creative. We'll make it piecemeal. We'll make it digestive for sure. But there has to be a guardian, maybe DepEd, maybe Ched, I don't know, maybe me, maybe him, to build the endurance and redefine what's sexy. Truth is sexy, lie, no. Manners, very sexy. Rudeness, pangit. Right? Let's just redefine these things, diba? So I think that's our challenge. We have to redefine what is sexy.
Okay, thank you, gang. With that, I will close this panel discussion. I'd like to thank all our panelists, Naz, Bang, Gang, Ed, and Jane. Please give them a round of applause. And that ends this panel. Thank you.